Like a little bit about electricity. So, electricity is one of the things that should always remain the same in cost because it comes from the same resources every single year and it is not reliant on anything economical. This ends up being a Rockefeller effect. And I just read about whoever Chris Wright is needs to be removed. I mean, all these people need to be removed from their office because like they're just coming up with policy after policy and using I've been saying it that they use children as patsies. Colorado every year, every other year, they keep creating these policies, and their excuse is children. The children are always suffering. The children are hungry. They're not getting good education, and there's plenty of resources out there. I mean, I can design and build a watch at the library. I was figuring out how to do it. It's just that their laser printer wasn't, the tolerances weren't high enough. And then they apparently bought like a $30,000 laser cutter that I could actually probably use. And like, there's so many resources out there. And yet the children are always suffering. So they raise taxes all the time for them. I'm paying hundreds of dollars in taxes on groceries in a state where we have minimal resources. And it does not make any sense. So then you go into gun rights. Using victims as patsies to limit gun rights when you look at a crime per capita and it's less than the medical industry. Like the more people are murdered technically. I mean, they get paid anyway in the medical industry, right? You get paid either way. Even if you kill somebody, they're the profiteers of life and death. And well, this they take away your gun rights and then they raise taxes on everything firearm related. This is about taxation, overtaxation, put money in people's pockets. It's the same thing as with the loop. Like they ignored the entire populace. People have no power anymore, and let alone are they even smart enough. But and U.S. Energy Secretary warns Colorado energy policies could drive up prices. Electricity is based on the amount of water produced throughout a winter and a season. And looking at what's going on, it got dark at 7:15 tonight. Last week it was 6:15. No wonder we're having such crazy weather. The axis of the planet. That's one thing I was considering. I was like, I'm wondering if the axis isn't accelerating more efficiently, and because it an hour change in a week. So that's something weird that we also have to think about. And it's just aside from that, it's based on how much water is for potential energy based on the average consumption needs of the populace. And people are pretending that it needs to cost more so that then people who have less money deserve less electricity. And it's a foundational need of our entire fucking society is electricity. Like everything functions on it now. And so then that's why they remove your gun rights, is because you can't even form a militia to remove a corrupt government anymore. And Colorado is becoming very corrupt. It's just they're using data centers as patsies now. They're saying there could be data centers. You know what we need to do? We need to raise the price of electricity. What? I mean, they can all function off solar power for one thing, but you know, like electricity is literally free to us. It is the most free energy source. Everything is free when it comes to electricity because it is inherent in atomic physics. Like it's just quantum physics functions off of electromagnetic wave functions and frequencies. And whether you go into all of that with all the weird oddities that people don't understand and how particles blip in and out of reality. But I don't even want to talk about that. But which actually that theory got proven, which is cool. That I was considering wave particle duality and how light produces a wave function actually that stimulates other quantum particles, and then they blip in and out of reality, and this happens around atoms too. And anyway, but that's a whole other thing with how reality can be a hologram. Brain, keep on track. Here, tracked. I said tracked. It is. I'm tired of being right. Fed up with it. Now they're using data centers as a patsy and an excuse to raise energy prices. This state is just turning into a shame of what it used to be. Like, this used to be the most wonderfully intellectual, simple, free-hearted, free-spirited, just amazing place, and it's losing that. And you had like three types of people. You had the intellects, and then you had the people who just love the outdoors, and then you had the people who just want to love and be here no matter what. And like, for instance, I used to spend time at the library a lot, and I was designing, and I taught myself how to use AutoCAD, and I was going to build a watch there because I've always wanted one, and I can't afford a real one with a Swiss escapement, so I designed escapements, if I can enunciate. And that's what happens when you get blubbery cheeks, can't enunciate properly. But so I would spend a lot of time there, and it took me about a month to learn how to use that software properly at an advanced level, and I couldn't. It is not intuitive whatsoever. So I had to retrain my brain how to think like an engineering process, which I've never done before, because it designs a chain of systems for machining parts, or processes of machining parts. And anyway, there was this lady that would always come in there and hang out with me near the end of me going there, and she was homeless, and she lived out of her car. She smelled terrible, but I didn't care. And we would just sit in there, and she would just, I don't know, watch me design stuff, watch me learn how to use a 3D printer, because I had to change a lot of things based on what I was printing and how to modify layers to get adhesion and stuff like that. And she'd just hang out in there with me. And now she works at the grocery store. I'm pretty sure that's her, because when I see her, she knows it. You know, like, she looks a little different. She's a bit older now. Changed her hair, but she was living in her car here, and look, that's the type of people that deserve to be here. The people that will be homeless here, that are willing to suffer to be here because there's no place else that they can imagine. Those are the people that deserve to be here. And these people that are coming with all this money, they're just pumping it in, abusing a system that, like, it took me my entire life to learn how to survive in Colorado, let alone are people able to just think that they can do it because they have money. And so what they're doing when they create these policies that raise electrical prices, it makes all the necessities for the average person more unobtainable, instead of actually finding a resolve and solution to benefit those people. And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, like, energy should just stay the same. People are still functioning on their budgets, and we're not overpopulating except for people coming into the state. But and now, we're having a drop and people are moving out finally. But because, they're not those people. They're not the ones that think, hey, I have nowhere else that I could ever imagine going. And those are the people who deserve to be here, because they're going to actually love this place. And those people that love this place, it's like your soul is calling for it, that you are willing to then come together with your community and function. Those are the people that you want. These fucking politicians, though, are going to push out people who might actually be like that, just so that they can bring in more money enthused, fucking hungry, money hungry halfwits that come here and they think, well, let's get rid of them so then I can have all those resources again. And they're using business to do it, and it's just no different than the water feuds back in Golden and during its foundation. And that whole river there, they had a history written on the bridge in plaques of like what the town went through to form and find, and like how cores basically saved the area. There was class dissection even, so like they had a wealthier community up on the hill because there was less potential of a flood. Yeah, that's how sick it is. And then they would have people on the other side that were the working class, that were just basically slaves, is what it was. And that's the more desirable location, actually. And because you get a better view of everything. It goes to show that like the people that are wealthy, it's like the Mouse Utopian Society, where they want to sit on a higher hill. That's all it is. It's a higher hill. They don't even have a better view. They're not looking around. They don't have that mind. It's just fucking absurd. And I don't know why those types of people accumulate here, but that's not how you survive in this environment. If you try to just simply function on money in an environment that doesn't sustain diversity, then you cannot function on money. It does not work. It's the same thing as Canada forming socialism. Mexico, I'm surprised, hasn't. It's really cold environments that tend to form like socialism and communism naturally. And then overpopulation forms it too. And those are the ones that create wars and oppression. But it's when you have low diversity to prevent incest that you need to prevent the collapse of your populace in general. And so socialism and communism form in those hazardous environments. Well, Colorado is like at the in-between of all of that, where we still can actually exploit resources coming into Colorado from the plains, the Great Plains, from the coasts. It's a major distribution center of the entire country. I don't know why that thing don't work. And so Colorado is a very unique place in that regard. And like all these business hungry fucking money hungry shitheads, they're coming in, and I mean the politicians are claiming that they're trying to prevent more industrial infrastructure changes, but they're not benefiting the people. They're punishing us for that, making that the excuse to punish us, instead of blaming themselves. and that it's themselves. They're not forming better policies to benefit the people, let alone. I mean, we could have rent reform, right? We need, like, what is it called? Uh, Renter policies or whatever. Like New York has it that the longer that you're in an apartment building, because the apartment building is degrading, then the amount of money that you pay is equal to the time that you originally encountered the property. And what do they call that? Anyway, so that you don't exploit people. And what Colorado has done is exploit people with that. They've been pumping people in, they take advantage of them, they kick you out, they use your money to benefit themselves, benefit the property, and then they tax fucking they hike up prices, and then it there's not enough work here. Like, nobody's working hard. I'm an inventor. I can't even go to 99% of hardware stores, any stores in general. There are two stores that actually might have something I need. One is an electrical store that has it's an old school one run by like this old fucking fella. The only one in Colorado that is old school, that he has an entire second floor of just almost any tube, transistor, capacitor, resistor, just anything that you can imagine, right? And is up there that he's collected. And he let me go up there and just look around. And I was like, wow, you don't see these places anymore because nobody's making anything. And that's the foundation of the American industry. It's like the early 20s with the fucking engineering boom, the manufacturing boom, and fabrication boom, and especially with guns too. There's so many weird oddities with machining that it and then there's one hardware store here, the only one I've ever been to that just has anything that might possibly need that you can actually fabricate things with. So I always go to them, but their prices now are sky high because they sold out to was it Best something or another. The last hardware store that used that company is out of business, and their prices when they went out of business were sky high. They were trying to liquidate all of their their inventory, and the prices were so high even after liquidation was starting that you couldn't afford that. And they were blaming me. I'm like, it's not my fault that you're overcharging. You're pricing yourself out of the market. And it's not my fault that the entire industrial system is been depleted. And it's just, we're seeing the repercussions of sending all of our jobs, our manufacturing overseas, and teaching these other people to be better than us. They're doing the job just well enough that the products they produce will last long enough, and it is better. Don't get me wrong. If the philosophy of the need to better, like, what is intelligence? It's the need to better. That you are you can either design something to last just long enough or to last forever. And what is better? And what do you actually need? If this is an inferior thing eventually, you only need it to last that long, unless you need that as a foundational system that you can fall back onto. And so, like the plow, for instance, I like using the plow for this because one day we might have an issue where we can't afford, let alone the fuel, oil for tractors. And so tractors have gotten so gigantic, and it doesn't make any sense because the older John Deeres did the same amount of work, and they did it better. They had smaller tires. They didn't compress the soil as much. And so over time, the soil actually benefited from that. And now they're so massive that we're having, we have to have genetically engineered corn just to survive these hazardous environments we're creating. And Oh, God, I'm derailing. I am so sick of this shit. It's the same thing as being pulled over by a cop. And they're like, well, I'm going to complain about 5 things. And then I'm going to say that, well, hey, I'm not going to ticket you for all that other stuff. But here's your $300 ticket for this other thing. It's the original thing that you pulled me over for, you dipshit. That's why nobody likes cops. That's why no one likes you. Like, it's because they do that. They play this runaround game, and it's spreading now. And they're acting like they're heroes, but they're not at all. And I don't want to be a fucking leader, but apparently I'm gonna have to start stepping it up because apparently they're irresponsible. Fucking assholes. Pisses me off. I just want to enjoy this fucking mountain. I want to enjoy working outside and stimulating the forest. I got so many... What the fuck happened? I got so many trees to replant. And it's like I have to do the jobs of everybody for them sometimes. To try and understand just that, like, we are being exploited here. And nobody else seems to understand or recognize it. And you can look at this, and it's the Gazette. I mean, that's the typical Colorado news. No data centers, bonus. Everybody's gotten so sarcastic that you can't even discern when something is actually important to be concerned about. We don't want data centers. No data centers. And then the electricity prices go up, and we're not getting any benefits from that. So what they're saying is we're actually going to keep electricity the same. We're going to charge you more. And fuck you. We want to deter data centers. Well, for one, data centers are actually beneficial to the populace, but they're being exploited as a monopoly of information. And it's the Rockefeller effect is what it is. It's the same goddamn thing. The data. And that's ours. It's the same thing with grocery stores. That is ours. We are the people. We are the consumers. We eat the fucking food. We use that information. The children are always suffering. Man, it pisses me off. So, the children are always suffering because they don't have resources. So, they're going to deny data centers. And so they're going to raise taxes because the children are suffering again. Just wait for it. They do it every other year. They've been doing it for the last 16 years since I've been here. And some of it was good policy. But also, I'm being punished because you got your dick off and you can't support your fucking child? Why do you think I don't have a fucking child? I have had sex with 35 women. I made that choice. I don't create life without responsibility for it. If I can't take responsibility for that life, then society is going to punish me in general. I mean, society already punishes us and me. And so now I need to pay taxes for your child with whom I don't even know because I'm some creep. I mean, yeah, I'm so creepy. I haven't even talked to a child in probably since middle school. Like it's been over 20 years. I haven't hung out with a child. The last time I was in a home with one was my grandmother's funeral, and my aunt visibly comes up, and I'm showing my like second cousin all the photos the same way my grandmother showed me them, and my vicious evil aunt, she is just a giant piece of shit. Like I would crucify her and just walk away. I wouldn't care. She is so awful. But she comes in, she says, "Don't talk to him. If he talks to you, come to us." And pulls her away and drags her away. And I'm just watching this. And I'm like, this is not family, you know? This is not the way this country is supposed to be. And it made no sense. I didn't do anything to any of them. All I did was spear a fish once on a lake with my cousin. God, I fucking hate my family. Treated my girlfriend like trash, too. And I brought her. Because I just knew how awful it was going to be. So on one hand, I don't give a shit if this entire country is liquidated because the people are not good anymore. They are not Americans. But at the same time, you have to wonder what comes after. And what comes after is far worse. And I found a philosophy. What was it? It was there's nothing more free than the right to hate. When you can't feel hate, it means that you are being oppressed emotionally. You can't express yourself. You can't think against or for yourself. You can't think or feel in general. And you have to be a certain, not demographic. What is the word? But it reduces us into either a hive structure or a colony structure. And I always use ants and bees for this. That eventually we are going to decay into that. And China is a perfect representation of what ants are. They're ants. Whereas England's empire were more like bees. And you start looking at these people. Renewables? Oh, God. I mean, what shit actually matters. What do you do? Because everybody's so stupid. They don't think like me. I don't know what to do. The only thing is to try and fight for what you believe in. There's no guideline for it. You know, it's the same thing as figuring out how to build a floor for the garage, which I'm going to mason stone, natural stone from the landscape that we have here. There's tons. There's more than enough surface area of just chunks of stone about like this. And you can split it, move it, fit it, and it's pretty easy to break. And so I took technology from the Romans and the Mayans The Mayans are the northern ones, right? I better remind myself. Huh? Is it? No. Huh? Okay, so that's not even the same. The Incans were there. The Aztecs were southern, the Mayans were northern. So yeah. So the Mayan Empire built a floating city, and it's one of the coolest things in history, in my opinion, of Tenochtitlan, that I'm using dowels into the earth, and then I'm going to create a fibrous mud from pine needles that'll lay as a cushion that over time will break up and embed. And then the water that runs down, because there is some water that does run into it if you let the snow build up outside. So I've been studying that and how that changes over the winter. That will allow me to place stone on top that over time, as you drive over it, will embed it deeper slowly. And it should last, at least 100 years. I'm hoping more than that if people appreciate it, if I can do it right. But it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm looking forward to doing it. It's just that this fucking wind. I don't want to be dealing with all this corrupt government shit. I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of waking up to a new policy that doesn't make sense. Like, where did it come from? Everything was fine in Colorado. There was nothing left to worry about except for the fact that we weren't stimulating forest growth. That's where it should have gone. That's what we needed to do. And what is happening in Colorado? I don't want to be involved in politics. I just want to enjoy my solitude. If you don't understand why Trump is one of the best presidents we've ever had, then you're just a fucking tool to societal. This defamation and libel that we carry through a system of superficiality and opinionated confoolery. Nothing the president does is perfect, but at least he showed us who our true enemies are. And nobody's talking about what Biden did. Like, that guy. Jesus. What he did. One thing, he made us look weak. He started the Ukrainian war, essentially, when all he had to do was use diplomacy and create a structure of trade, because that's all Russia wanted, was to just trade. And he denied that like it was 1952, and it's still the fucking Cold War. All Russia wanted was a trade route to the Black Sea. That's all they needed. It was simple. Not to create an outlet, but to create like a, or I called it a three-way door that, you can, if Russia abused it, took advantage of it, then you have a European collective policy to turn against them. But as long as they obeyed it, then we can freely trade together. It didn't make any sense to turn Russia into an enemy. They're the one country you want as an ally. They have sustained in the harshest environment for hundreds of years. And nobody else, no other society can do that. I mean, if you took Germans, put them out into the middle of fucking Russia, where like there's only two people that have survived in that type of tundra. It's the Russians and what are those people called? Made the igloos. But they never built up because they didn't even have any resources. And so trade is the only thing that can actually function in and out. Otherwise, you have to use socialism or communism. Because if you don't, that entire structure over there, it's complete. It's a biome. That's what it is. And oh, now you fucking finish it. Clear Creek Canyon Trail. 3 miles upstream. That's almost to Blackhawk. Yeah, they've been working on that for a long time. It's really cool. I just don't have people, so I never got to ride a bike on it. That would have been fun as hell. Also, I'm too big for my bike now. Can't ride it anymore. It's a bummer. I have a really cool bike. A Lemon Chamboree. Its unique geometry lets you just carve turns at a slower pace, and you can choose your apex exceptionally well. But also you can ride at like 50 miles an hour like nothing. Only problem is it's made from aluminum, which fatigues over time. And she cannot be an actual person. Yeah, she's not. That is AI. Nobody sees it. Muscles don't change when she's doing that. Why is there enough asphalt to make speed bumps, but not enough to fill potholes? Gee, I wonder. It's because people make unnecessary policies. I go around any speed bump if I can. There's no reason to shock my suspension. It's absolutely absurd because we have two at the grocery store. No idea why they're there. They added another one, a longer one. You can't go around it on this other hill leading to the grocery store. As if going around it was a problem. It wasn't. Because you have to slow down anyway to carry that curve. So the whole point of speed bumps is to abuse your vehicle. They destroy your shocks, they destroy your tire bearings, your wheel bearings, and nobody's being held accountable for putting these fucking things that destroy your vehicle. And in Golden, they started adding these like pyramid or trapezoidal shaped fucking things that impact thousands and thousands of drivers a year. When I drove around that town every single day when I was there, and the only time I ever saw people using them, and that's the excuse, is to save people. Oh my God, all the people. Was at the fucking high school because they're allowed to go to Domino's. Back where I was, we did not have open, or what do they call it, where you can go back home to eat for lunch period. Apparently you can do that there because people were I remember our principal, maybe it wasn't the principal, it was some teacher talking about it, saying we used to allow people to go back home for lunch, but people were fornicating and doing drugs. As if that was such a problem. As long as they weren't getting pregnant. I mean, they'll get rid of all that testosterone they built up. You take that away from them. And then what? When you're in your 20s, in your 30s? And they're like, wait, why aren't you having a child? Why aren't you doing things? I don't know, maybe because I hit puberty in the 5th fucking grade, you dipshit. Who doesn't know how to actually run society. And now they're giving free rein to a red flag clause for teachers to objectify children who might be too sensitive. Because this happens online all the time. I mean, all I did was make a joke. I said, that is why they are actors. Why does everybody have to be rude? Oh my God. Downvote this guy on Reddit. Everybody's so rude. And then I got rude and I was like, you should wear a name tag, man. Why don't you wear a name tag that says I'm very sensitive? It's like one of those helmets that kids have to wear because they're clumsy. I'm all for it, I don't want to bother you if you can't handle it. But at this point, at the same time, they are trying to open this policy to red flag families with guns because they have children. And it's crazy. I mean, it's bizarre. It's like the same thing. Like, I couldn't go buy a rifle because of how I look. As soon as I walked in the door, I heard the manager, this ponytail fucking dork who didn't know anything about guns, working in a gun store. No idea why he's working there. Knew more about guns than everybody there. And he's like, check for red flags. I literally heard him as I walked by him to whisper that to an employee. They had me talk to every single employee. I never have seen that in my entire life, that type of just profiling. And I mean, that's disgusting. And then, we're trying to get the thing filled out, and I didn't know that the laws changed. And so I didn't want a red flag down the line because I was using a different address that I needed while I was being homeless. during renewing my ID. So I had all these other issues because it was during COVID. So they sent me a photo and my ID from when I was 22. And I'm explaining all this stuff to them, and I'm like, I have crazy landlords. And I finally just got sick of it. I showed them the photos of what my landlords were doing. They were putting rocks on plastics so that I couldn't use the bin to create obstructions and pretending that they were just fucking lunatics. And so I didn't get to buy that rifle. I didn't necessarily even want it, but never going back there. And profiling people like that is harassment. Like, that is. Oh, it's based on race, though. That's their loophole. Nobody can be racist against a white person if they're white. No, it's not about how you look. God. I'm done talking.